The next to last agency that we'll look at today is the Department of Justice, with roughly $2.5 billion in IT spend. Now, the biggest source of opportunity at DOJ is obviously the FBI, and that is the one element that operates with a significant amount of independence from DOJ headquarters. A big portion of that headquarters spend that you see there is handled by the Justice Management Division, which is also funded in part by other DOJ components who pay them user fees to operate IT shared services. Lockheed Martin owns a lot of the development work at FBI, particularly out of CGIS in West Virginia. Otherwise, you'll notice that there are quite a few distributors up on this list, which suggests that there is a significant amount of off-books IT spend done at the department. And I should also note that there's a portion of IT spending conducted by the FBI that is classified and so is not reflected in the data up here.
So let's talk about a couple of DOJ technology trends. The first we'll focus on is cloud, and FBI has recently been doing some work, issuing quite a few different RFIs, and they're actually looking for a cloud-in-the-box type solution for CGIS. We've also got DEA looking for a cloud service provider so they can virtualize more of their applications. And also worth considering when approaching DOJ is that they maintain a lot of clouds for the law enforcement community. And DOJ is seeking ways to offset costs in these clouds. Now, this could be a perfect opportunity for you to bring your message and your cloud story about how you can save the department money. Another major driver at DOJ is infrastructure, with data center consolidation being top of mind here. Now, of course, we're not so much talking about data center consolidation anymore as we are optimization. That is, getting the most out of the data centers that the government already has. With that in mind, DOJ has really identified 3 data centers that it intends to turn into more enterprise data centers, 2 FBI facilities and 1 DEA facility, and of course they still operate the Justice Data Center in Rockville as well. Now, you're likely to also see technology refreshes among some of the systems that have been developed by FBI, particularly Next Generation Identification, or NGI. Because the development work has been completed, the systems have gone live, and so now is the time to refresh the underlying technology to help improve performance. Remember, it really is all about that faster, more responsive modern technology stack. And lastly, mobility will again be a factor at DOJ, particularly among the law enforcement community, who will look to have devices that can view sensitive information while they are out on operations. Now, these devices need to be compatible not only with internal DOJ systems, but also with the broader law enforcement community. And while we probably mostly think of DOJ's law enforcement mission, there's a fair amount of litigation that gets done by DOJ attorneys. So case management solutions that can work on mobile devices are a must. Remember, it's always about increasing productivity, but it's also about ensuring the security of that application.
DOJ is currently led by Attorney General Eric Holder, although obviously he has announced his retirement, and Loretta Lynch has been nominated to serve as his successor. There are a few points of interest that are really worth focusing on here. The first is the Office of Justice Programs led by Angel Santa, who's currently the acting CIO. They really pride themselves on being innovators within DOJ, and they do a lot of grants management, although don't worry, those grants are not coming out of IT budgets. Think of OJP as a sort of test bed for new technologies at the departmental level and approach them accordingly. Next is the Justice Management Division, who we will discuss in a little more detail on the next slide. And finally, you'll notice that there's a red box around the component agencies of FBI, BOP, U.S. Marshals, DEA, and ATF. That's because those are all places where you'll find open ears, especially for case management technologies, as well as mobility, cloud or virtualization, or any other technology that can help reduce their expenses.
Here's a little bit more of a detailed look at the Justice Management Division led by Lee Loftus. Now, we've highlighted in red the IRM group. That's where the DOJ CIO, Joe Klimovich, sits, and he's formerly of NOAA. Now, unlike some of the other departments that we've discussed today, the OCIO at DOJ is more than just a policy shop. They control a significant portfolio of assets, including the financial management system that all departmental components make use of, as well as the Justice Data Center. That means you can and should reach out to Joe his deputy Kevin Dealey, and their team for COTS opportunities at DOJ.
And now for the FBI, which is led by Director James Comey, is the major law enforcement arm of DOJ and receives over 40% of their on-books IT budget, as well as controlling a significant amount of off-books IT. There are a few key places to have conversations here. The first is the Information and Technology branch, and that's where Jerome Pender and his deputy Dean Hall oversee much of the IT operations at FBI. Another major locus of IT spending is the Criminal Justice Information Services Division, or CJIS, out of Clarksburg, West Virginia. Most of the big FBI projects that you've heard about are managed by CJIS, and they're also the central location for much of FBI's work on information sharing and cloud computing. Lastly, I want to point out the Operational Technology Division, which does a lot with cutting-edge technology that ensures that FBI agents in the field receive the resources and information that they need. This is a division that has a lot of that off-books IT spend I just mentioned and could be an excellent new source of opportunity. The first program we're going to talk about is the aforementioned Next Generation Identification, or NGI. Now, it's managed out of CJIS, and it was brought online during FY14 without too many hiccups, but there were still some issues that could still remain. There's a big data and analytics play as well as a visualization play here at NGI, but you're also going to find demand here for middleware, data management, and other storage solutions because law enforcement groups around the country make use of NGI in the performance of their duties. And next is the FBI Data Centers investment, and we've chosen this because there is a data center pilot that the FBI is conducting at CJIS, and this investment could also fund some of the cloud RFIs that we did discuss. And while this investment is mostly in a steady state manner, keep in mind that there's a shift if we get some of these new capital investment on these data center pilots. But also keep in mind that even despite that high number of SS, government officials are getting better at using operational expenditures to purchase new technology, particularly if it can show efficiencies, and then most notably in that is short-term ROI. You're going to find that if you're a storage, networking, or a cloud vendor, you're going to want to keep an eye on this investment. It could turn out to be a very lucrative one if the FBI gets a thumbs up on some of these pilots that they've been working on.